Oh, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming on a Saturday morning, last day of the conference with the rain. That I noticed that people that come by bus goes all to the main place because so they don't have to cross the rain. But maybe, for example, Swedish people, they are used to rain, so what's the problem of rain? Thank you very much. My name is Giovanni Allegretti. You can start if you want the PowerPoint. My name is Giovanni Allegretti, and I'm the coordinator of a European project called Phoenix at the center at the University of Coimbra. Here we have other colleagues from other countries that I will introduce later on. And we create this seminar originally around the practice who won the new award that we inspired for OIDP, which is an award so you can see that in the title, the original idea was to have here our Philippines colleagues and interview them from different perspective of our colleagues here. But for visa problem, they were not able to come. So we decided to invert the role, and here is the new idea we had for today. Our project is called Phoenix, the Rise of Citizen Voices for a Greener Europe. The call was about how to help the European Green Deal, so the ecological pact that framed the European Union policies in environmental and other domains also, through participatory and deliberative processes. As you can see in the map, we are having 11 pilots in 7 different countries, including one country which is not in the European Union, but is in Schengen, which is Iceland. And our focus is, our backbone is about reflecting on around the main challenges, the environmental practice and practice dealing with ecological transition have in relation to other, no? Many of us work on urban practice, so participation around transformation of mobility and public spaces, and we know that there are some level of complexity and some level of understandability, which are easier when we talk about something that whose results are visible in the public space in a few years, if you want to be optimist. But the environmental practice has different challenges that refers to middle, long-term perspectives, results that are not immediate, and they also responsibilize people for the transformation of habits, of consuming and behaving in the daily life. So they are more exigent than other practice. So they are more difficult somehow. But time is a very important dimension. And so we decided to ask to OIDP how much time was part of the best practice of this year. So we checked more than around 1,000 practice that have been running for prizes in the life of OIDP. We analyzed all of them to see how many of them were still alive, and we discovered that like around 90-95% they were one-shot practice. So they were I don't know, like public assemblies, they were participatory practice for building a plan, and they stopped their participatory nature as soon as the product was delivered. In the case of participatory budgeting, for example, including some environmental or green participatory budgeting, one of the issues is also that there is, yes, every year a participatory process, but after the participatory process, in many cases, the outcomes are delivered to the classical techno-bureaucratic procedures. No? So you come out from the participatory area and you enter in execution, implementation. And implementation is done with the traditional methodologies. This is the average. Obviously, we know, even I know some of you, so I know that in some of your practice, the continuity of participation in the practice is important. So we wanted to reward this. And we pose the problem of time as a significant dimension, especially for practice that deal with topics of ecological transition. And so we want to pose the problem to OIDP for the future on how reflect to grow sustainable while continuing to be participative. Okay, it's a question because we know that the excess of participation also produces a downgrading curve of participation, because when participation becomes a burden, there is a participatory fatigue also, no? So where is the balance between these two components? Maintaining participation and not requesting too much commitment to people. Or what do they accept to be the center of the process for continue to commit after the initial important moments? And so we hope that this award will open for OIDP a new reflection for the future. We were discussing with the technical direction how to open a call that is specifically based on duration, no? Which are the projects of long duration in order that they could describe their path, no? How did they get there? And the awards that we gave yesterday to this city of more than 2 million people, it's, I mean, for us in Portugal, 2 million people is the more than metropolitan area of Lisbon. And it's difficult to imagine that this is a small city in the metropolitan area of Manila, no? But it is. It is a city with a lot of rural areas. And in fact, the population density is lower than in other cases because there is a large area, open area. And when we gave the prize, you possibly heard the speech of the mayor yesterday by video, and she underlined something very interesting. The practice has over 10 years. It was just in the beginning a sort of small backyard gardening initiative, and then starting to grow. And one of the growing factor, the explosion of the practice happened during the COVID, when a sort of social leg was added to the environmental aspect to tackle climate change, and also to the aspect of occupational problems, now generating jobs. And the numbers that she gave us, 25,000 green jobs and 1,300 farms, are photographing a success that was built with a constant differentiation of funding, taken from different areas like food waste, like the new land taxation that gave a lot of new money. And another important element that she underlined was that the university, on the base of this project, decided to create a training program which helped a lot the program to have more quality, and also to enroot in the municipality as an institution almost. So these are the reason why the jury, we have some members here from 7 different countries, decided to reward this practice. So transformation is absolutely needed to differentiate the public, the audience, and to differentiate also the funding that allows in time to have a stronger framework. And so the main points and question coming from here are that the program is part of the efforts to address climate change, but started close to people's lives, so their gardens, and their needs of working. Okay, so in fact, the project makes volunteering, by those that have work, and remunerated work in a just way for those that didn't have. This is another interesting aspect of this project. Food system contribute directly to climate action because it works the territory in another way. It creates a new perspective on how to use the land, and the pandemic multiplied this vision, adding this social leg. This social leg is working with vulnerable categories, especially women, the youth, and LGBTQ groups that in the Philippines are more at risk in this moment than in other countries. And participation is also key to shape initiatives that reflect the needs and aspiration of people. So that's why participation was central in all the phases, but was accompanied by this idea of collaboration between urban and rural, the mixing of volunteering and just distribution, and the increase of training on the spots that was guaranteed by the university that didn't have this program and created it together with the project. And on this base, we have two questions today for you. The first one is they will be worked both in the tables in the beginning and then by a panel of people that will react to your reflections. The first one is from your experience and your reflection in some case on other experiences, which are the main conditions to guarantee a participatory continuity of a participatory process over time, including the implementation, monitoring, and evaluation phases. And what changes can be used as a leverage for maintaining this intensity of dialogue with the citizens a long time and make all the actors grow in their capacity to tackle complexity. So there are two different questions, but they relate. Sorry, I didn't have to read this question. It was, no, it's your task of Sinara, my co-chair, and I forgot. Sorry, I'm very ashamed of this. Okay, so this is a bad start for participation, definitely. But, okay. No, okay. Okay, so this question will be posed in a round of collective reflection in the table. You have 25 minutes and plus 10 we can use in plenary for a debriefing. And time is key, but we are lucky that we have the break before the next meeting, so we can a little bit go further if we need. It depends on the dynamic also. We will have here with us beyond Sinara Sandri, which is a researcher at the Phoenix Project. She's from Brazil, but she works at the University of Coimbra and Center for Social Studies. We will have with us three persons, because Manuela Gervasi unfortunately had a health problem this morning, so she called me from the hotel that she couldn't come. But we have three persons from three different perspectives. Isabel Xavier, that is from the municipality of Cascais here in Portugal, and works directly coordinating participation. And we have Sophie Guillen from Respublica France, which is an entity that does consultancy for projects at different scales of participatory process, and many of them are in the environmental domain. And Marco Meloni from Southampton University, that works a lot, especially with the idea of evaluation of participatory process, but has been involved also in the Citizen Assembly in Southampton and in Bologna in Italy. Okay, so Manuela Gervasi, maybe if she feels better. She's from the European Environmental Bureau. We still hope that she can make it, but which is an NGO that federates 280 environmental organizations around Europe. So she has a vision more of the green popular lobbies that do efforts to keep the European Union on track on the Green Deal objectives. So, if you want, we can start in discussing this question. What happened? Okay. I pose the questions again so that you have them here. Okay. Two questions. Are you okay in working in English? It's okay? Because the tables are mixed, so okay? Maybe for us it's easier if we keep one language, but we can help you if someone of you has issues with, or doesn't feel totally at ease with English. And the second is, please choose a porte-parole, a spokesperson, in the end, a speaker that could represent the table when we will be discussing the issue. We will be around if you want, but our idea was not to talk, because we have also a specific space later. So, but we will be happy to listen to you, because we didn't prepare detailed things. We prepare like a skeleton, but we would like also to react to what you reflected about in your table. Okay? I don't know if some colleagues want to add something that I forgot. No? Yeah, 25 minutes. We had 25 is the middle between. Okay? Bye. I will inform you 5 minutes before, so that you know if there is a lot of emotion, we can stretch a little bit. Okay? Bye. Fecho, simplesmente. Hello? Oh, okay. So, hello back. Thank you very much. I saw that there were living discussions, so I'm happy that these elements that emerged can be brought to the entire group to see what how will you synthesize your some of your key points and for discussing with the others and for giving some inputs also to the panel that will be commenting them soon. Yeah, can you? Do you want to sit, Marco? Also, you can sit here if you want, and I will. We don't need, but maybe you can sit. I mean, it's not compulsory, but if you want to sit, we can. Okay, let's do a democratic thing. Yeah. Okay. And did you choose a spokesperson in the two groups? So that he or she can, or both, if they are two persons. Sometimes in the groups there is this issue that for gender issues there is always a couple of persons presenting. So let's start with this table on my left. Yeah, can they have a mic, please? So no, but I think that there is the filming. There is a stream live streaming there, so it's maybe, yeah, he's bringing you a mic. There was a problem of battery, but okay, we can go there. Okay, no, maybe they have already.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Okay,
perfect.
The first thing we were talking about, the political will, that there have to be like a political direction to start the process. We also talked about trust in the participatory process, like both horizontal and vertical trust. We talked about the instrument, the mechanism, and which people, like how we're trying to engage people, and they must be included, and they feel included, and that communication is essential in the participatory process. We talked about safe spaces that people feel comfortable to be taken in account in the process. Let me just see what I have written.
Yeah, if other wants to complement, it's a democratic space. So
these were very important points. So the need for political will to shape the process in a way that is constructed and reconstructed a long time and not stay still as it is at the beginning. And also the touch from identification with specific people, but that there is a way for participants to understand that they are part of the process. They can shape the process, and in case of conflict, they can resolve the conflicts within the process because there are provisions for that. We have been talking about the importance of recognizing people's knowledge, making them feel owner of the process, in participating in safe space, as it has been said, and to build trust on two dimensions, that is horizontal and vertical. Being so that the vertical dimension is also always disputable, meaning that, as we said, the process is recurringly under a constitution. But we also think that basic principles that led people to participate should be maintained. They should be probably few, but agreed upon principles that people can recognize along the process when difficulties arise, and they can recognize with the process when, for instance, horizontal trust diminishes. We also spoke initially about the emotional dimensions of interest as an emotion that needs to be cultivated, not externally, but through internal procedures that allow people to do whatever we have already said, that is identify with the process, feeling part of it, and feeling able to reconstitute it. Thank you. I don't know if I forgot anything.
Thank you.
You want to add something? No?
No.
Okay. So let's go to the second table. Last but not least.
Well, I had that's good morning. So, concerning the first question, what we talked about is that it should be an autonomous process, that participation shouldn't be, it should be separated from the electoral or process, and this means that participation should not be dependent on yeah, thank you for that's good. It shouldn't be dependent in 4 years for having to know what electors have to say about participation. So it should be an autonomous process. Also in this idea that people should appropriate of participation, and it should be disseminated, just as an octopus. Well, I will ask if the table wants to, because I just wrote some topics. And that also the politicians or the political power should recognize participation as a policy, a public policy, just like philosophy. It should be integrated practice and not just like a part. I would think that would sum the first question. Does someone wants to add? Please do. No? Yes? That was for us the first question. Should I go to the second or? Yes? Yes? Concerning the second, I don't know. I'm sorry. Is it? Huh? You're not paying attention, Giovanni. I'm not feeling... Giovanni. Yes? Should I go directly? This is participation. If you say yes, I will go. If you're yes, okay. Concerning the second, yes, it's just perfect. Concerning the second questions, well, we think that the participative process. Sorry, I wrote this in Portuguese. Now I'm translating, so this takes more time. Participative process should be an opportunity for local actions with global impact. And what we discussed here is, for instance, if we think back a little bit in time, about everything that we had to recycle when that was implemented. We are a part of it, but there is a global objective in recycling, but we just do some things about that. And also, in this particular case, we thought that to integrate changes, we should involve children, because children, they are very good change actors. To implement changes in adults. And what we have more here? also to involve actors that can directly suffer with the consequences. For instance, in places of risk, with climate change, we should integrate those people in places where this could happen. And also we spoke about fortalecer, how could thank you. Status, thank you, of participative democracy. It can't, well, here again, it should not or can't depend on political will. It should be autonomous. And also here the relation to take changes, to have a work between politicians, citizens, and NGOs for these to facilitate the process of changes among citizens. Oh yes, or they're being the leaders of the process. I don't know if you want to.
Access data. No, it's important the independent process, and even to be independent, the process need to full access to data, and also to tool, including the new tools. So, because the crisis, the risk is that the participatory process will be cut at the low level. So better to empower the participatory process from the very beginning, also with the new tool by the artificial intelligence. So not to be victims, but a protagonist.
Reports. Oh, it's not working. Ah, it's dying. Almost dying. I got that feeling that's
Yeah, it's the same.
I think it's working. It was working before. Better with the previous one. It's open, but
And this one.
no. Okay. Hello? Okay, hello. Okay. Okay. Ah, because I thought that when there was the yellow light was... Okay, perfect. Okay, I inverted the word perspective. Okay, thank you, sorry. No, the idea that continuing something is creating a new institution, and the new institution is only can only be generated by elements like effectiveness. So if they don't produce the results in local and global terms, so it's a sort of local approach, they will be difficult to be recognized as legitimate and authoritative. So with a moral authoritativeness, no? So there is a need to continue things like the access to data, the monitoring, the collective monitoring. So there is a request from below to continue the process, but maybe the burden of this process have to change and has to be concentrated more in communication and display of results and capacity to impose its presence in the territory as a serious and authoritative institution. So thank you very much. So let's ask to our colleagues. We start from here on my left. Again, all left. I'm leftist in this moment. Okay, we will ask to Sophie. Here you have again the name of my colleagues here. Sophie Guillen from Respublica in France. What, in her perspective of a consultant and organizer of participatory process, can lead to a participatory sustainability and continuity of processes?
Well, maybe you'll not be satisfied by my answer, but I was wondering why nobody asked, why do we have to continue? Do we have to continue and have a continuity in participatory processes? Because on my practitioner point of view, sometimes it's better to do quick, something efficient, in which we have a great inclusive participation, when we address a pertinent issue, when we give pertinent answer, when we have an impact on policy. And then maybe it's also interesting to stop there, do that, have a great engagement, and then pass to something else. So I wouldn't say that we have always to to continue in participation. In France, as example, I would say that we have last in processes that are dying because of continuity, because they are not renewed, they are not, there is no implication, there is no political engagement on the long time and citizen engagement. So sometimes if the situation is not like with political trust, with political engagement, etc., it's better to accept and to invest in a one-shot great participatory process. So maybe not to say that this question was wrong, because you did give some great ideas. Maybe it's more about philosophy, culture, of the culture of participation, the octopus that you was thinking about the system, about maybe more about open governance, in which there will be sometimes processes, participatory processes, maybe there will be discussion among civil servants, with politicians, among citizens. So it's more about the continuity of a way of thinking local dynamism, local policies. So I would say, just maybe to be short, that what we can think about is this. It's the system of participation, of inclusiveness, of governance, maybe more than the participatory process.
It's very interesting, because our contribution to OIDP wanted to be to reflect on this element of time for the future, and maybe we have to think not about necessarily the continuity of the same thing, but about the legacy. So the legacy, what has been learned in that process and can go to other processes. And it's perfect, because the next person that can speak with us is Isabelle Xavier, that comes from the municipality of Cascais, that yesterday presented his interesting system. So this idea that things cannot stay the same, but maybe they have to flow to another thing, could be maybe exemplified by the case of Cascais, and maybe Isabel can tell her vision of a public servant, engaged public servants on this.
It's funny what Sophie said, because when they are speaking, I was thinking what you were thinking. But honestly, I think the public servants, we have much more responsibility than we would like to accept. And we have much more power than we would like to recognize. And that's something we know inside of the process. I don't know about your countries, but in Portugal we say a lot, okay, they come, they go, and we stay. And that's a feeling we have. We know they come, they go, and we stay. And they are the politicians. But the citizens, it's exactly the opposite. we come and we go and they stay. Because we retired, yeah? And they stay living there. Like that, in that process, it's us who are moving, the public servants. Like that, about sustainability and sustainability of the processes. In this precisely case, we are thinking here about the ecological or climatic process or green something issues. We can't be naive. They are much more than our desires, much more than our intentions. And when Sophie was saying about that, of course there are manipulative stuff around all of this. And we can't forget the way of the enterprises, way of the interests, way of a lot of things who are behind all of this. It's not just the participative processes, they need to be connected with information. Because if they are not connected, if the people are not informed, they don't really always know how to evaluate something, how to evaluate a process, how to... Participation, it's not necessarily something good. If you, I'm being honest, if you ask, for example, for people in Cascais, do you accept more gypsies in your territory? We're going to have a fantastic level of participation, I can tell you. More than 80% of the people are going to say no. It's a participative process. Do you want more gypsies living in your territory? No. Like that, if participation is not connected with information, with human rights, and with representative democracy, they can be something strange. Like that, we need to reinvent the tools and have training as well for public servants, because we are the ones who stay in a period of life. But at the same time, we need to do something like Sophie was saying, look to the process, evaluate the process, and try to understand when and how the things can go and can connect. That's all for now.
This idea of the link between participation and information is very important. I was thinking that Lisbon created a project that also was cancelled recently, but is the School of Human Rights called Somos, that was preparing citizens to participation with exactly this ideas based on evidence. For example, when we discuss security, it's a field where emotion overcome the reality. Sometimes we think that our neighborhood is full of thieves, and it's not for the statistic of the police. When I have been working in the past on issue like this evaluation of health in African countries, for example, the scorecards. And I remember a case in Congo in which citizens were given the maximum score because now the doctors were coming every 20 days in the villages. And before they were coming every 2 months. And so they were saying the system is perfect, and they were giving 10 of scores. But in the rules of the process, it was written that they have to be every week there. So the citizens were giving the maximum score to something that was violating the basic rules of the services, because the citizen did not know about the service. So the problem of knowledge, informed knowledge in relation to participation, it's something that's have to be kept as a continuity in time. Marco, Isabel quoted the evaluation, and you are a specialist at Southampton in evaluation of participatory process. What can you tell us about this dimension?
Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you all. Thank you the table for the contribution. I'm going to speak about my angle that actually is evaluation. That is a sort of black sheep of the step of the processes. Yeah, because we generally came at the end of the process, so the people are tired, also the organizer are really tired. For some municipality, it's a period where they are preparing the next process. For some project, it's the period when we are basically ending, there is all the reporting, the financial stuff, a lot of reason to be worried about it, and also because generally there is this link with evaluation and control. Evaluation as the police of the processes. In a way, I would like to broken this link, proposing a different type of evaluation, that actually the evaluation that I think that we need in the processes, an evaluation that came during all the phases of the processes, so not just the end, but try to evaluate the single steps ongoing, a sort of constructive evaluation that basically is modular, and then they try to be a sort of critical friend of the processes and not the control, not the police, separating also the financing evaluation with the evaluation of the processes. If we evaluate the processes in a really destructive way, we can take basically, I don't know, the 95% of the participatory processes. Say it doesn't work. Let's see the number. How many people participate in comparison to the total of population? How many money we spend for participation in comparison to the overall budget? So no, this doesn't work. But without thinking that, so what? In a crisis of democracy, okay, you are destroying my process, but what is your proposal? And generally, the people that destroy have no proposal. So the critical friend is the friend that say, point out to you the problem without destroying the purpose, without destroying the process. And it's really important to do that. As well, it's really important to don't have an approach that, since we have no alternative, we basically doesn't questionate our processes. It's really important to questionate our processes. In that table, it was really interesting, an intervention that was saying, we need to be creative, because otherwise we are going just to make a repetition of processes around the world that are pretty similar without understanding they have sense or not. And doesn't mean that maybe a PB, a traditional version of PB during the first year was good, was interesting, but after the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, maybe the people would like to decide something different, in a different way. Doesn't mean that was wrong at the beginning, but maybe through evaluation, we decide to change. Maybe we moved from, I don't know, renovating parks and space for children to something different. Maybe the people in the fifth year would like to think a different way of organizing the office within the municipality. I don't know, it's challenging, but we definitely need to have this type of evaluation that try to questioning. I have 4 principles that I would like to present to you. I will do it in a really, really fast way that we try to apply to in Phoenix in evaluation. One was the constructive principle that I already explained to you. The other 3 are the collective intelligence principle. So we really would like to have an evaluation that is co-designed, because it's really important. The criteria, the KPI, key performance indicators that maybe we use and the European Union has to use, maybe are not interesting for the population. Maybe the population would like to evaluate the process in another way that are not my criteria as a researcher. The second principle is ethics. Always we should put ethics in the table, particularly during these times, particularly when we use tools that there are a lot of problems with the tools that we use at the moment. Yesterday we spent a lot of time speaking about artificial intelligence, so we should bring back ethics in the table of our processes and evaluation of our processes, and the principle of failure as opportunity. Let's evaluate our failure. Let's try to don't hidden our failure. This is really common in academy, but it's also really common in politics, that all the time everything needs to be fantastic, because otherwise we are exposing us to the critics, so to the next election or to the reviewers that came in an article. No, it's really important to speak about failures. Failures are not necessarily linked with a big mistake. That could be basically a wrong evaluation. They can be that the time is changed. Evaluating our failure, valuing our failure, we can basically move on to better processes that stay during the time. And I will finish saying that involving people, the citizen in evaluation, can also help us in creating identification. That I think this also emerged in the table, is a really important key aspect. When we achieve an identification of citizen with the processes, we are achieving a condition for sustainability. Not linked with the politician that promote the processes, not linked with the manager of the, because we have these personalities in the world of participation. No, we should try to create identification among the processes, so we have people that are going to defend the processes. Thank you.
Thanks, Marco. And I think in your reflection, I see some stories of countries that I didn't understand. Like, for example, in United States, it's frequent to use the embargo on evaluation, which is a temporary embargo. And in the beginning, I didn't understand. I thought it was a violation of the transparency. And then I understand that it's a protection of the process, because if politicians are immediately exposed to a critical report on the process, they will close their attention. They will be scared. They will hate evaluation. But if you guarantee to them that for some time the results will be only in their hands and they can think about solutions before showing to everybody the failure, maybe this will help the process to last more, and to be the identification, the ownership will be also the ownership of politicians that will accept an incremental vision of the process. We are improving. Every time we are improving. I think that the things that in Cascais struck me in this 15 years that I have been accompanying some of their changes is exactly that the process are never the same from one year to the other. They always change because evaluation is effective. No, that is important. And to synthesize in one word that your colleagues Paulo Spada use, when we will look to the setting of an evaluation, we have to think about evaluation not as a watchdog like a Doberman or a pit bull, but as a rescue dog, as a Terra Nova or a San Bernardo that is helping you to be safer. No, so it's a good image that Paolo uses. And I have a question where you can add something to finish. My question is completely reformulated in relation to before and as. No, it's if I had to reformulate the questions that we had in another way after the reflection that Sophie started on, do we need continuity or not? It would be, on what do we have, if you choose some keywords, some areas important, on what do we have to invest after a major participatory process? So the citizen assembly, the participatory budgeting, the master plan of environment or something. What do we have to invest on to avoid the dispersion of results? That means not just thinking that continuity is fundamental, but that we had result and we want to multiply their effect in time. So what are the main investments to do?
Thank you. I would say also, because I wanted to say as a practitioner that tools or innovation wouldn't be the solution. We do not have to invest in tools. We have to invest in facilitating the response to the issues that we identified. So maybe tools will be a key or will be an answer, but it is not the entrance. Maybe we have to invest in démultiplier, how would you say? Multiplication, the multiplication of the culture, so maybe inside, outside, sensibilization to participation, maintain the dynamic, and I would say be in capacity to move forward when there is changes, so maybe adaptation, resilience, how you'd say. But the main thing that I see being really efficient is passing from participation to action, something that is on the ground responding to the ecological issues. So you have thought, you have made a great reflection or maybe a great process, but then when you succeed in engaging citizens, politicians, civil servants into action, then people really want to continue. They will come back to participation because they see the results on the ground. It's not only because there is a great accountability, which is another key, but they pass to action. And from Phoenix experience, the co-design that we implemented at the beginning also is very, very, very interesting. Instead of building a process with the authority, we built the process with a blank sheet. We build the process with citizens, with civil servants, with politicians, with social society, together. Just what do we need to do to address this problem? And then they invented the process. And why am I speaking about passing to action? Is that's what they say in French. That's what they said. They said, okay, just don't worry about the participation process. We want it to be, at the end, something efficient, showing people that we did something together. So we, I think, co-design renew the way of thinking participation, and it brought something concrete action.
This issue of co-design, for me, for example, was fundamental now in a process on the mountain between Portugal and Spain, in an area called Gata Malcata, where this group of citizens that are helping us to shape the participatory process said, you are too short as a project. We need a longer time, a longer vision, because we are slow here in the countryside. So we want you to let us, when you go away, with an institution that can accompany us in the future to have a more participative process. And so they ask us, yes, to create an association, a transfrontal association that can work between Spain and Portugal, and that can ask for funding to the European Union. So it's a complex issue, but they want us to let a body in which they could recognize themselves for the future and try to find funding for new processes, so a legacy. They wanted a clear legacy, not a process, but just not a participatory process, but as a process of construction of different possibilities of future participatory processes. No? So,
I was saying at the beginning, it's not about the continuity of a process, a participatory process, but the continuity of
engagement, of a space of engagement.
Of a space of engagement of governance, and in France, in a space of action. So it's more than participation.
I know a lot of you are investigators, and I know what I'm going to say. It's a crime, because it's not in the books. It's not in the books. I said a lot of you are. But this is not in the books, it's not right, it's not a concept, it's everything wrong from the perspective of the academy. But all of us know the concept of participative democracy, and all of us know the concept of the representative democracy and the new concepts of vinculation. What is vinculative, what's not, blah, blah. But we invent a concept in Cascais, it's not recognized from the academy, but we call collaborative democracy. And what is collaborative democracy from our perspective? It's exactly what you said. It's the co-design. A territory needs to be involved, the public servants needs to be involved, the citizens needs to be involved, the ONGs, the civil society needs to be, everybody needs to be involved. Of course, this is a concept, yeah, and like all the other ones, it's to be criticized, obviously. But about this, what is necessary, like you said, in this process, it's to have the courage to invest in people. This is a fashion. Now it's artificial intelligence, that's a fashion. Some years ago, it was smart cities. Oh, let's go to speak about smart cities. And some years before was the participation straight away with PBs. Come on, this needs to be a bit more. This needs to be a concept, a way of life, a way we see it. All of these are tools, and we can use it wrong or right. You can use PB as the most manipulative process ever. You have a PB, that means nothing. It means you have a PB. PB is a method, is a tool. Could be good used or bad used. And like that, we need to, the mayor of Cascais have a fantastic sentence about smart cities. He always says, all the cities are stupid, people are smart. And really, that's the center. People are the center. We live, of course, we need to have other concepts of this concept of people. We need to think about the animals, the ones who have no voice. We need to think about the air, the sea, the ones who can't defend themselves, and they need some people who have voices for defend them. But that's the investment, that's the center, it's people. And from the perspective of the public administration, what do we need? Training. What do we need? Knowledge. What do we need to connect with everybody, to be open to what's happening? Because it's very difficult, and I'm a public servant with really proud. I like to be a public servant, but I say it's very difficult because our image, it's always the ones who do nothing. We are always lazy. We are always slow. We are always full of rights, and everything we do, it's wrong. It's not from the citizens, it's from the politicians. Okay? Like that, for this perspective, which there are another perspectives. It's when we work with the results. That happens to you for sure. It's when we see something happen, oh, wow, this is exciting. I like this, I want to do this. And that opportunity, yeah, of being involved, of have knowledge, of work to academy, or try to co-design something different, and make lots of mistakes, and repeat again, and try again, and have courage to try again, it's really good. And that's the way. Have no fear of a call for friends, for our critical friends, or have always someone who's gonna come and say, that's wrong or right. Giovanni invite me and Karin for show all the PB Cascais through the mistakes. And we show it to his students of PhD, we show how you can do so many mistakes you become good. Yeah? And we show that to him, and it was really a challenge for me and Karin to build that, because never ever anyone asked us, please tell us your mistakes. And it was really good. And that's what I think it's really important for change.
Just few words to say that actually it's not a crime what you say. I completely agree. And I think that is a part of our community that is going to that direction, academic community, moving from what has been called the toolkit participation, no? The idea of spreading tools that can be fitted for all contexts. We have this wave, no? A few years ago, 10, 15 was the PB. Now are the citizen assembly or a random selection. No? I say, oh, I have a solution, random selection. That came from mini publics. They evolved because we like it. Actually, academic is made by fine name of the thing that already exists and publishing about that. So I'm going to publish about collaborative democracy also. No, but actually moving from that to more centered on people and on action. And in fact, the first question should be what we really need, and then let's buy a process among this purpose. Instead of, I propose you a methodology, a tool, and then we find a way to use it that can have sense. So basically, I think that we find a common ground. It's not we need to speak about this because there are part of the academy, part of the people that think in a different way, that basically have this ecumenic view. that they need to spread the message. But I think that this is sort of critical participation is what we need at the moment. It's much more fitting with our society that need to be to find space also for conflicts and for questioning, and we need through our processes to provide that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. If we want, we can clap also in the end. We can go as a liberation. So if you have any idea you want to give us, here you have our website and our email. Maybe if you want to tell us something that we can put, we will do a small report for the OIDP in order to try to reimagine this award with clear criteria and KPI for the future, in order that from the future we will take the dynamic of time, the dimension of time into account also for one of the general OIDP awards. So if you have ideas, they are welcome. Thank you very much indeed for being here and be active part of this day.
Good. Oh, hello? Is this, yeah, perfect. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our next session. I am Zoe from People Powered, and this is Accelerating Just Transitions, Participatory Climate Democracy. This is going to be a fairly hands-on session, but to start with, I'm going to give you some background, tell you a bit about who we are, what this work is, and then we'll turn it over to you. So we're first going to go through some introductions, explain the organization. We're going to then think a bit about what is capacity building for participatory democracy and what is the approach that we have developed to do that. Then you will all become participants in one of our accelerator programs, and you'll get to test some of the tools and think through the strategy we've developed to do this kind of work. And then we'll come back together to think about what are the lessons that you have learned through becoming participants for maybe 45 minutes, and what are the lessons we've learned after doing 5 cohorts of this program. So the workshop team, you have me, I'm Zoe, I'm the Climate Democracy Associate at People Powered. We have Katie Rubin here, who is our legislative theater mentor, playbook expert for today's session. We have Isabel Luciano from the Participatory Budgeting Project, who is our participatory budgeting expert. We have Paolo Francisco, who is from the municipality of Loures, who is our participatory policy making. And we have Andrea Silveira Robles from Exetuto, who is our citizen assembly person for today. So as you go through the process, there'll be moments when you're wondering about these methods, and these will be your people to help you through. So who is People Powered? People Powered is a member-based organization focused on expanding people's power to make government decisions by supporting organizations and governments that are building participatory democracy around the world. How do we support? How do we work? We provide global support to help governments transition to a more participatory democracy. We do this work from below with a global community of practice. And all the people I just introduced to you are from this global community of practice and help us and create all the work that we do. So here is a page, so you can just have a quick look at our member organizations, and you can get a sense of the variety of organizations that are part of this community, contributing to the resources and the training programs and the tools, and maybe you can spot one that you know. So how do we think about building capacity within this community, for this community, by this community? We have developed something called the accelerator model. So People Powered is about 3 years old, and maybe 4 years old, depending how you count. And throughout its history, we have been trying to think about how do we help more people do good participatory democracy. And through that, the accelerator programs were born. And they have 5 key components. The first is that each of these programs is supported by a team of mentors. So these are people from around the world who have diverse experiences in doing participatory democracy across different contexts, across different methods, and they support the participants in these programs to think about how to design this work. We then have peer-to-peer learning. So you're never alone as an accelerator participant. You're recruited in a cohort, usually of around 15 people, and you work together across 6 months to design participatory democracy programs. And we found this peer-to-peer learning piece to be especially important and a piece that carries with you after the program ends. We also have step-by-step resources. This is one line in the middle, but this is a very chunky part of the program, and the resources that we have span case studies and videos and tools shared and created by members, but it also includes our central tool, which we call the Participation Playbook. This is an online tool that you log into, you make an account, it asks you questions and prompts you, and you give it information, it gives you information back. And so we've developed a mini version of that for you today to use in an analog fashion. And then we also have self-paced training. So this is a training platform with courses that help you once you're starting this plan and using the Participation Playbook to build out your program, to think about additional elements you might want to add, to connect with your cohort, to think about challenges. And then we also give small grant support to help you have capacity to participate in these programs and to pilot the programs after they end. So this is a map of the people who've been part of the Climate Democracy Accelerator so far. So we are currently on our 4th cohort, and Valongo is actually a participant, and Paolo is their mentor in the newest cohort that's just started last month. So now, it is your turn. You are now all participants in the Climate Democracy Accelerator, so welcome to the program. This is your participant journey. So we are here at the beginning. You'll get to meet each other, we'll go through an activity, and you'll start thinking through what your program is. This also gives you a sense of the regular accelerator program and everything that they go through to get to the end where they have final presentations and final action plans to start their programs. So what do we mean when we talk about climate democracy? What we ask participants, and which we will ask all of you to do, is to first think about and define a climate challenge. So what is a climate challenge? A climate challenge is not a simple problem, it's not a simple phenomenon, it's something that's very complex and could be tackling any element of the climate crisis. We often think about things like adaptation or mitigation or resilience or conservation. And a well-framed climate challenge articulates the systemic aspect. So it's not just saying, I want to adapt to climate change, it's spelling out, well, how do you want to do this? Who are the communities involved? How are the intersecting crises of socioeconomic or geography or any other element that comes to mind for you fit into this? And how can we frame them in something together? And then all of these hopefully help us to reach a just transition and not just a climate solution. So when we say a just transition, we're thinking about something that supports the movement to a net zero future, which includes all people and all places equitably bearing the cost. So we want to make sure, and we'll do some of this today, that we have inclusion of marginalized communities, we have education and information and evidence. We're thinking about the whole systems across the disciplines and sectors, and we're thinking about the socioeconomic impacts as well. So why do we think about this with participatory democracy? Climate challenges are very complex in their nature, and they can often come in top-down ways because we have big corporations or governments who are making these decisions. And we think that actually a way for us to collectively think about a just transition is to bring in participatory democracy, because this enables community members to make decisions that affect their lives together with government. And unlike consultation, you're not deciding on some preset options made by someone else. You're shaping, well, what are these options? How are we thinking about this challenge? And how does it affect me in my life? And how can I use that knowledge I have to inform the decisions we're making? So we think about participatory democracy in the Climate Democracy Accelerator along these 5 methods. Of course, there are many more methods, which some of you may have used, and you might want to use in collaboration with these, but we have, as a community, developed resources for participatory budgeting, legislative theater, participatory policymaking with some participatory planning in there, and citizens' assemblies. But a method is a big, grand thing, and how do you think about which method makes sense for the program that you are trying to run, for the challenge that you're trying to face? We use different tools. So you might have a problem and you think, actually what we need are evidence sessions, or we need involvement. We just need people to be in a room together. We need facilitated discussions because there are different power dynamics, or we want to actually just put some options out there and get a sense of what people think. We want to do some visioning. And any of these, and hundreds more, are tools of participatory democracy. And that's something I'm going to ask all of you to think about before we get into the high-level method. So, and these things bring us to climate democracy, which is climate action engaged in decision-making, climate action and engagement to increase awareness, and it's having really participatory mechanisms. So in the rest of this workshop, we will explore how we support people to go from a climate challenge to a participatory climate democracy program. And now it is your turn. So I would ask everybody to get up out of your chairs, and we're going to do an energizer. So a key part of the Climate Democracy Accelerator is that you're a cohort. And look around the room, this is now your cohort. And so you're on a learning journey together, you're thinking together, and so we want you to have some fun together to get us started. So I'm going to ask you to mingle around the room and introduce yourselves. So I would say, hi Paolo, I'm Zoe. And you say, hi Zoe, I'm Paolo. But now, I'm Paolo. So I go to someone else, and Paolo goes to someone else, and I say, hi, I'm Paolo.
Hi, I'm Katie.
Oh, but now I'm Katie.
And I'm Paolo.
Exactly. Whoa. And so now I go again, Hi, I'm Katie.
I'm Marco.
And now I'm Marco, and you're Katie. And so we're going to do this for a few minutes just to give you a little time to play. So ready, steady, go. Introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Zoe. Okay, has anybody come across their own name? Has anyone found their own name? No? Okay. See if you can find your own name, and if you find your own name, come stand up at the front. So keep going and see if you can find your own name in the group. Hi. Hi, I'm Zoe. You're gonna sit down. Only Katie has found her name. Has anyone else? No. Okay, everyone. I think we're gonna pause here. Did anyone except Katie find their own name? No. And then you lost it. And were there any names that you heard a lot? Okay. So, a couple of different lessons. When you're making your design decisions later, think about this. Sometimes ideas circulate with no intentionality for no reason, but everyone is suddenly named Vanessa. So something to keep in mind. And now we're going to spend 2 minutes very quickly doing a final activity. So mill around, and then I'm going to say a number, and you're going to get in a group of that number. So everybody start walking. Okay, groups of 2. Okay, start walking again. Groups of 3. Okay, these groups, hold on, let me see if I'm going to make an edit. These groups are now your groups. So with 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. You're in the groups. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm going to ask the other facilitators to leave for a second, and we're going to do it. But now you know the key, but still, don't go with your friends, you know? Okay, one last mingle. Groups of 4. Oh. Okay, and now find a group of 4. Okay, this works. Now with your new group, go find a table. There's some new tables no one sat at. Okay, we are now going to give each of you in your new groups a climate challenge to work on. So normally in our accelerator programs, you would be bringing the climate challenge that you are working on, and you'd be coming to us as a civil society organization or governments with a partner and working together, but we've sort of created that for you today. So we will now give each of you a climate challenge to work on, and once you get your climate challenge, we'd like you to pick it apart together, unpack it a bit, think about what's on the page, and you can use the flip chart, the markers, the Post-its on your table to do this. So they will come to you momentarily. Can I formulate this, and who are your stakeholders? And to add this to your sheet. Okay, everybody, I'm now going to give you a bit more to add to your pages. So if everyone could just kind of break away from your discussions for a moment and come back up here. So now what we're going to do is to look at what you've mapped out. Maybe you've mapped out a climate issue. Here's an example from Buenos Aires. So maybe you're working on pollution and inequality. You're trying to make a carbon resilient city. You've mapped out some things like energy and waste are key subjects and people care about them, or maybe you've identified that there are some coordinated efforts that are already happening. So looking at what you've pulled out, however that is, try to think about what are some tools of participatory democracy that would help you interact with these. So don't go to methods yet, just think about tools. So for example, if you know what people care about, maybe an evidence session to build on that and tell people more about it would be a good tool, a good first intervention to engage people. Or if you have existing coordinated efforts, maybe you want to make sure that they're involved in the design process that you're about to implement. But think broadly about a tool. A tool can be anything that helps open up the decision making or engage citizens in the process. So I'll give you a few minutes to do a bit of initial thinking about tools that could help you. I'll give you want a page explaining here we go. These might also be helpful. Watch. This is made up of this. Okay, everybody. Gonna stop you again for a moment, if everyone could come back. And I'm gonna ask each group just to say one tool that you identified. So this group, do you have one tool that you've come up with? Not yet, not yet? Does anyone have a tool they want to share that they identified?
Something, but I'm not sure if this is what you meant by tool. For example, here it says that 9 municipal councils are interested in supporting this work. So having the 9 councils do a listening tour with the Bororo people. Yeah.
Yes, definitely a tool. And so now we are going to build up from your tools to a participatory democracy method. Usually, you would spend a long time speaking with your mentor, using the playbook to decide this collectively. But for the sake of time, we are going to pretend that you've done this, and we're giving you your results page with your participatory democracy tool. So now your facilitator will come and give you your results from all of your hard work and deliberation. Okay, so now you all have a method. And your facilitator has 2 pages that go along with your method, which ask you 2 questions. And these are questions that usually occur to you in the participation playbook, which is the core tool that helps you, or resource, which helps you design your program. So I've printed out some of these questions so you can think through as the first steps of planning a participatory democracy process. So first, I'm going to ask you to think about goals. What are the goals of your participatory democracy program? And then second, I'm going to ask you to think about who needs to be in this and how do you reach them? So what are the first steps? In the real participation playbook, there are kind of 6 sections and 10 plus questions per step and many options, and you fill it all in. So this is just a little sample to get you started thinking about the design process. So I'll leave you to your table of facilitators. Okay, everyone, you have 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to ask each group to share back. So take 5 more minutes and crystallize your ideas. Okay, 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. Okay, everybody, I'm going to have to stop your conversations. I know. I see pained looks from the back corner, but you can continue them over lunch. So, keep designing. But for now, I'm going to ask everybody to turn your attention back to the front of the room. Okay. So, in the accelerator process, so far you have gone through some mentoring. You have worked on your participation playbook, and in the ideal of this workshop, with a bit more time, we would have now gone through a training course. So what you do, you start these conversations with your mentors, you start the design process, thinking through with your team what you're working on, and then we get people like the mentors and other people-powered members to come and provide training courses in the accelerator program. So we were going to do a mini course on inclusion and participatory democracy by watching a video that we can now just see a photo of, but is about how different people-powered members have done inclusion strategies. And then I was going to ask you to return to your boards to add in some inclusion strategies from the video. Instead, I'm just explaining this to you, but you can sort of imagine the process of design, kind of going back, learning some more things, doing some more training, revisiting your design, and this iterative process you go through. And then the other fourth piece is the peer learning. So this is the idea of how you might have come up with ideas of inclusive strategies. So let's pretend we've all done this and you have some good inclusion notes on your pages. And now we come to lessons learned. So the really core piece is also not just doing all this work alone in our teams with our mentors, but thinking how can we share what we're learning with each other? And how as a peer group, as a cohort, designing participatory democracy processes in different countries, in different contexts, with different methods. There's still a lot of learning to be had and a lot of support. It's hard work to do. You have ups and you have downs, and so building out this community of practice is a really important piece. So the way we're going to do that briefly is by sharing back, so we can hear from each group. So please share a little bit about what you designed, and then also if you have any reflections, we're kind of tying two things in together, on what you feel like you've learned about thinking about designing processes like this. Would any group like to start? Otherwise, I will come to you. See you looking at each other, and I see you see me approaching you. With some, yeah, I'll give you the microphone. Over to you.
Okay, do I have to explain the case? No, just.
Explain the case a bit.
We had to deal with a community who was struggling with water supply and with land use, a nomad community. And then the issue of this tool that was proposed, offered to us, or chosen for us was the participatory budget. So our first talk was that we thought that the participatory budget was not enough to resolve the situation, because there is how do you say, fights and difficulties, and there is really a lack of health care. So what we thought about was just to address the PB and prioritizing the thematics of the PB by going to the different local nomad communities, each of them, because they have different issues, and then afterward put them together to prioritize what were the issues that they had, and then on the issues organize the PB about the issues. So that's what we thought about, but then the steering committee about this thing came up, and so we thought that something could organize all the process of the PB and the how do you say, the choose about the thematics, but the community had to be, you said, had to be part of the steering committee. But then, so that's a little design about working with communities, prioritizing PB, having a steering committee, and identify the different issues. But then we thought that we had another problem that the PB couldn't resolve, so we had to think something more about land use and so we thought that something like another participatory discussion, we didn't go well, but could be completing the dispositif.
Thank you very much. And how did the process feel for your group? Hard? Easy? Yeah.
We thought that the tool wasn't
Enough.
the answer.
An interesting context I didn't give you is, so all of your examples are from actual participants we've had in the program. And in your specific case, the county government actually were in 2 different cohorts with 2 different organizations, and the other organization was doing a citizen assembly on land use. So your intuition was right. And so these 2 processes are actually ongoing together. This group, could I come to you to share your design and any reflections?
All right. So our challenge is in Brazil, in the Amazon rainforest, where acai is a monocrop that big companies are growing, but the local community isn't really benefiting, all the profits are going elsewhere, and people who live there don't have much control and are living in poverty. But there's starting to be people are starting to see some commonality across the region, and there's sort of some beginnings of communication and organization. And so we were pretty skeptical that the government officials would kind of be in bed with the acai corporations and the landlords. And so we thought an assembly would be helpful to sort of help build the initial community capacity to bring people together so they can share their experiences as residents and as workers on the plantations and start to identify things. But I think we were agreed, I'm not sure, but that rather than selecting a small number of people by lottery, the goal might be to engage as many people as possible. So maybe do a sort of federated system of assemblies where you start with one in each community, and then they can elect delegates to a regional assembly where hopefully they can work over 2-3 months or something towards sort of identifying what do we collectively want to take action around. Anything you want to add? Goals. Oh, and the goals sort of we're thinking of through the assembly process would be to find balance over time between economic development and then sort of respect for local life and culture, and create space where people can exchange their experiences in their lives, and then hopefully join forces to some sort of joint action that they would collectively identify.
Thank you very much. And actually in the real example of this, they did a citizen assembly, and now they're doing a legislative theater process with young people to sensitize the policy outcomes from the assembly. So both groups here, there's actually some good thinking about also how do we combine these methods, how do we learn from other people in other places doing different methods and bring them into ours. Okay, this group, who would like to share? I see some very nice drawing going on.
I'll try. Our problem is about the swamps in Uganda. They are decline. So the challenge is to button up the national approach that gives them the power to protect the swamps. So our method is the theater and dance on social issues, and we are a civil society organization. So we think about, first of all, in Uganda. It's a big place. There are many swamps. There are like the 13% of this connection for the water in all Uganda. So we are thinking about in an umbrella. If we want to, first of all, know about the problem, we need to create this big casting, in social media, thinking about a transmedia communication strategy. We are looking for that person that really loves to take care of the environment. Do you know someone that are interesting about the climate? And then we have to talk about first with the stakeholders. But when something is strength, everybody wants to be part of. So if we create this casting, we can find in all, not all, but maybe in the specific points of Uganda, the people who want to be part of, and then the government, especially the municipality, because in this case we are friends of them, with the National Youth Action Network and the National Ministry of Youth. So there are big influencers of that kind of actions. So just imagine, we have this big problem. We don't know, we need to know how the people in Uganda live in the different territorial places, this problematic. So thinking about the umbrella is what happened here, 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 here. We create this innovating theater dancing, because in Uganda they danced like the original town, like, okay? So we can create a big movement. It's exactly a festival. So we send this, we got some business people that can sponsor this festival, and the municipality can invite another stakeholders like the farmers, the women, the adults. So that's how we would think about this. Do you want to add something?
Do you want to say the goal of like embedding the long-term, some legislation about embedding
that for plus 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a great presentation. I especially enjoyed the map. And now, last but not least, we'll come to this. They also have some illustrations going on.
Show to the rest. As you can see, we developed an image with natural intelligence. It's not the current situation of the Mboro land, because actually the situation is definitely worse, but we try to make an effort of imagination. We had this case where there were original challenges that basically are the fact that Mboro are a marginalized indigenous group. They live atop of an hill mountains with generally no voice in the policy that affect them. Then there has been other contingental challenges that are the civil war that affected the region since 7 years, droughts, and many more problems that resulted basically in environmental stressors, erratic rainfalls, and the loss of 50% of cattle. So the situation was dramatic. Definitely, as in that case of the group, the tool, the methodology we can apply are not enough. What we need is a systematic change, but let's try to provide at least the beginning of this change. In the center, there are definitely the population. That is, we decide to place in the center because it would be it's really important to center people-center action in every case and think about that. Then we move to the tools. As you indicate to us, we interpret it such as a general strategy to go to the point that we will be more practice. We think that instead of inform the population, sometimes we say inform the population, but the population is already living that. So we don't need to inform them of the problem that they have, but we thought that it could be useful to have a sort of process of linking causalities and also identify responsibility of the situation. And then we decided to leverage, our role was of a civil organization where already 9 of the 34 municipalities in the territory of Mbororo were supporting our action. So we decided to leverage the 9 municipalities that are supporting us. That will be the starting of our process. Then we move to the goals that we are, sorry.
To have them do a listening tour with the Mboro people.
Yeah.
Already open to do yeah.
Sorry, yeah, I was forgetting. And then we move to the goals that basically the methodology is going to help us to reach. Basically, is to provide voice to the Mboro population. This is the general level. Then fall in other 2 second goals or secondary goals. One is to achieve a legislation that could basically provide Mboro with a tool to decide about the land. So the importance of nature, the importance of decision-making on nature, and the second one is the decision-making on policy. So putting together the social and political part and the naturalistic part, that in this case, as in many cases, goes together. The tools, or let's say the way of involving stakeholders and citizens, we think that we can start with a minor pilot involving the 9 municipalities that already are with us, showing to the rest of the municipality what can be one of the actions that we can apply. Then we move, sorry.
We show it to the other municipalities and talk to them about the benefits of it, and
then we think that one of the possible way to involve them could be generate a panel of stakeholders, so involve the social organization that stay there without avoiding also the involvement of the group. But then we think that if we would like to have actually a participatory policy making, we need also to include the population. A way could be a random selection, so select part of the population, asking them to participate actively to the process of policy making. This is pretty a big effort, so we need an involvement population that we thought that maybe open to everybody interested would be interesting, but we have no insurance about the constant participation of them. Then we reflect on the importance also of a representative of nature and future generation, so include some group that participate to the process that also represent these two categories. Is a challenge. There are just experimentation on that, but a way to put in the table also the needs and the priority of nature and future generation, or animal also, we mentioned it, but it's, they are part of, they're part of the nature. And then, actually,
No, so just for that, for representing the point of view of nature or future generations, we could invite others that could be domain experts either globally or locally.
And we put, basically, the idea is that the circularity from the challenge, passing by the tools, the goals, going involvement and methodology, and coming back to the challenges. Basically, the idea is to impact on them and then basically keep on going with the circularity of the process.
Yeah. That is a very beautiful diagram, and I'm very impressed. It's iterative, it has everything in there, it's visual, it has text. And so what you've all just done is a little bit of peer learning. You shared, you heard what other people are doing, and now in the cohort, the next step would be to connect you. For example, you're both working with nomadic communities, or you're working with legislative theater, we might connect you with someone else, or regionally, so you can deepen that learning. So we do a combination of the breadth of thinking, okay, what are all the things going on, but then also trying to making sure we're connecting you for the depth, so you can deep dive with people thinking about similar things as you. And now I think sadly we have like 2 minutes left, and I lost the clicker. Thank you, Katie. So our lessons learned will be quick, but you've just heard a little bit about what this program is in action through the work that you're doing. All of these programs were from people who finished in August, and so they've just started implementing them, so you could follow along and hear about how the actual implementation is going and what the process has been like for these organizations. So your group was from Laikipia in Kenya. So you were thinking about their participatory budgeting process, which is just happening, but they've already completed a citizens' assembly process, which was thinking about how do you tackle a heavy reliance on rain-fed agriculture. So sometimes these peer groups are also really focused on those specific climate issues. Many people are in the program have been thinking about rain-fed agriculture, how do we do small-scale agriculture in different ways that is participatory. In Armenia, we had a very sort of city-level participatory policymaking process to link up the different actors, so thinking about how NGOs, citizens, and governments can work together to make a policy for their just transition. And in Chimanimani in Zimbabwe, we had a legislative theater process, working on, which Katie was a mentor for, working on natural disaster response with young people. So they had a cyclone, and there was a disaster, and there was a high-level policy, but not a really local policy. And so they worked through legislative theater to develop this and build it up. And then other places nearby have done similar things since.
Can I say there's a new case study coming out about that process and a video that goes into some of the things we've been talking about here, like how they convinced the council to do this, how they overcame the fear, how they overcame cultural barriers in terms of bringing in elders and young people and criticizing the elders in public, that are really interesting in terms of these kind of questions. In 2 weeks that'll be out, and in Shona and in English.
stay tuned. And something that I always really liked about one of the reflections from the team doing this process is that before, the relationship of civil society and government was super oppositional. There were protesters and there were governments and there was no real conversation. And through legislative theater, I think because the officials found it so bizarre that they were doing it, it sort of broke these things down and created space for dialogue. So a few learnings we've had from supporting, we're now accepting applications for our 5th cohort. It's also, if you know anyone who might want to apply, please send them my way. But we've learned things through the first 4 cohorts, which are about supporting relationship building between civil society and government. Initially, we didn't require that we had a partnership working together. And for the current cohorts, we ask whether you're a civil society organization or a government that you have support from the other and you apply in partnership to the program. We also focused on tools that are interacting with the challenge rather than the high-level methods. So again, initially, we really quickly said, okay, you're doing participatory policy making. And now we've built some more lead-in time to the program so we can do a bit more thinking about, okay, well, what are the real tools and do they lead up to this method or do they lead somewhere different? And so we don't just do what we know, but we're really doing what fits best. And that we're also thinking, how can we take what's worked really well in the last cohort or in this design or the classic model or the way that you do this method to making it more specific and being open to doing that. And so, while standards are good, also not being afraid to maneuver them and think about, well, how is this working in this very different context and how can we build this in? And with that, I will let you go to lunch. Thank you all for coming, and I hope to work with you again sometime. Great designs. So give yourselves all a round of applause. Thanks, everyone. How long is the accelerator program? 6 months. So, if you have any